Mrs. Sturdypot.
Pixie.
And it's your favorite cousin. And we are here to talk about some serious things that have been going on within the black community here lately. And so this episode is basically we're going to be talking about some of the social injustices and basically giving our opinions and thoughts on it. You know what I'm saying? So the first thing I wanted to know is, what are your thoughts on generational trauma and how it affects our mental health and well-being? And you should have the definition pulled up.
Yeah, I did.
All right, so basically this is based around post-traumatic slave syndrome. We're gonna give y'all the definition of it and how we feel about it.
Well, while that's coming up, let me ask you a question. Try to word it right.
Okay, I'm sitting here waiting like, what's the
Yeah,
question?
I know. In my head, it looked good, but then I'm trying to say it the right way.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
I'm not even being funny. I ain't even trying to make a joke. I just can't. I'm trying to word it right.
So, okay, well, while you're trying to word it correctly, I have the definition for that.
Okay.
Post-traumatic slave syndrome is reference to, it describes the multi-generational trauma experienced by African Americans that leads to an undiagnosed and untreated post-traumatic stress disorder in enslaved Africans and their descendants.
Okay. So do you think that, with that definition, do you think that us and those who came behind us and before us are feeling the effects of that?
I would highly agree with that. Because slavery might have ended, but the intent of keeping us, how can I put this, boxed in, or just isolated from greatness, it extended into our education system. It extended into our employment out programs. It extended well beyond picking cotton and picking harvesting food out of the fields and things of that nature. It kind of branched itself and revealed itself in a different manner.
Yeah, definitely.
With that being said, we all know our greatness. You know what I'm saying? As a people, as a whole, I think we should be able to rise above that.
We can, but
No, we should.
here's what I'm saying. It can happen, but it's you got to think. This is not something that just happened overnight.
Right.
This is years upon years of fixing.
That's
So
true.
excuse me, not fixing, but programming. So you have to take just as long, if not longer, to fix it.
But we need to start fixing it.
Here's the thing. Check this out. And I use this analogy as like how they do with pit bulls, right? When they bred pit bulls, what they would do is they were trying to weed out the fight gene, the mean gene, or whatever. So you keep breeding until now you get a more docile animal.
Domesticated.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's basically what they did with us. So starting off, when the males were buck, they was buck breaking, stuff like that. You put them on blast in front of his family, and now the mother sees that. She doesn't want that to happen to her kids.
But what
So
I'm
she
saying
takes.
is,
So you're taking the fight out.
but what I'm saying is, we understand that we need to go above that.
Okay.
Not be docile and be like, well, this is what is going on. This is how life is for us as African Americans. We can't rise above such and such. Yes, we can.
Well, I understand exactly what you're saying, but if you look at it, thinking outside the box, some of us are just prone to this lifestyle because of the things that are not usually allowed at our fingertips. We have some people who make it out of the projects. We have some people who become prominent business owners, six-figure individuals. But then you have some that are out here, and due to lack of education, due to lack of ability to come off of what some and most people do need is the system. We don't have the ability to get to those levels. Again, enslavement has oppressed us in many ways. We're not just picking cotton anymore. Some of us can't get the job we desire because we're passed over for someone who has been grandfathered in by someone in another race, and they want their loved one, or they want their friend or family member, however you want to categorize it, to be in that spot. Even though you have the potential, even though you have the common knowledge to perform the job, they just don't want to see you with it. So there are a lot of people who have been in that situation, and because of those things, just don't ever get to the level that they aspire to get to, because it's somebody else always delegating who's going to be in that spot. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there are plenty of us who have branched out and moved out of areas like that. But there are some, I mean, like, prime example, and I hate to address this, but Flint, Michigan. We're going on how many years now? About 5 years with those families out here about suffering 6. Without clean water. And someone might say, hey, why don't you just move? But
it ain't that easy.
It's not that easy for some people. If you're only making $11,000, $15,000 a year, who really can up and make a life-changing decision?
You can.
In that manner.
You could barely afford to eat at that point.
Exactly. You are living in poverty. So when you take into all those you take all those factors in consideration, it only allows you to understand that some of us just don't have the ability to maneuver through life in those circumstances.
And also,
monetary wise.
Before that though, I want to say this too. You got to think too. We're dealing with generational stuff. So how many times have you wanted to do something and the elder was like, "Oh, well, don't do that." You know what I'm saying? Because they done they're scared. So now they done passed that fear down to you. So now you like, well, man, that's grandma, that's granddaddy. You know what I'm saying? So now
it must be
I gotta, you know what I'm saying? You following suit. And so, and what happens? You tell your children that same stuff you was taught. So now you done passed that fear down. Listen. You done passed that fear down to the next generation. Mm-hmm. Maybe not intentionally, but you have done that.
But that's all you know.
But what I'm saying is, and I agree with both of y'all, everybody makes sense. This is what I'm saying, is once you realize that's grandma and granddad way that worked for them at that time, we gotta show better for our kids.
Okay, now watch this. We can do that for our kids, right? But you got to think, our kids ain't the only kids that's out there. So you may be working to send your child on that path, but then you still got millions of others that have that same mentality.
What they got to do with me?
What I'm saying is that's how you make change. You can't, one person by themselves, yeah, that can make change, but that's that one person.
And that's that one
Imagine if you had a whole community or a whole city, a whole state.
That's my point, though.
But you have to get everybody. You can't even get everybody on one accord to choose what they want to eat.
Because another point I was about to say is, I'm going to say it, and we all know this, black people hold black people down. I'm just go ahead and put it out there.
It's a lot of situations.
We hold it. I'm not going to say 100%. I ain't going to say that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. In the same category.
But we would go a lot further if we supported each other more without hate. Oh, this person right here doing good. Let me find something that I don't like this.
You're going against the whole machine too, though.
But
you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I understand that. So what I'm saying is, if people get on this like the same mind,
it's easy to say.
It is.
It's harder to do.
It is very hard.
Because you can say that now, and you can have some people who be with you until they go home and cut on the news.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
Because that person has to be strong enough to maintain the focus and stick to the plan. And we all know how easy it is to be distracted.
As soon as it get uncomfortable, like, man, bump that, I'm going back to where I'm comfortable at.
Yeah. I mean, think about in the 60s when they were protesting. You had some people out there that had the idea probably in the 50s. But because of fear of, well, I can't afford to lose my job, or I can't, and so it made the task a lot harder for it to be accomplished, because Joe want to do it, but Jimmy don't. Jimmy too scared, So now we have to accept that where we started out with 20, now these brothers then decided I can't risk it, and now we back down to 5 good soldiers. You understand what I'm saying? So it takes a lot for everybody to commit and stay there. I mean, their protests does not always. It's always, look at Colin Kaepernick. It's a lot of gentlemen in the NFL that felt the same way, but because they were too afraid to take a pay cut, they were too afraid that they weren't going to be able to play, they just stood back in silence. But this brother risked it all. He sacrificed his entire career to prove that point, and did not get the recognition for it until 2 years later?
Yeah, and then
I don't think he's still playing.
And then on top of that, though,
He still has not played.
This man sat there on many times and told people the reason why he was taking the stance. And you know what they got out of that? Oh, he disrespecting the military.
Absolutely.
He disrespecting the flag.
The flag.
He just told you it had nothing to do with that.
Right.
But you took your own narrative and ran with it, and because you can broadcast your words because you control it further than he can, because he told y'all, you can put whatever spin on it you want to.
Absolutely.
And that's what's going to run.
So it takes more than one person. Yeah. And you have to have a committee of people willing to fight and lose in the same battle.
I'm glad you said that. That's the part right there. People are not ready to lose. That's the part right there.
Well,
See,
everybody
want to win.
Yeah.
But they scared to lose.
When you take people who fought hard for the little bit that they do have, why do I want to put all that on the line? You know what I'm saying? That's true. Some people may say, well, okay, it's easy for him. He got millions.
Right.
I'm making $30,000 a year. I can't put my $30,000 on line.
So it's the underdog got to stand up.
I mean, it's everybody, man.
I'm just saying.
That's basically it, man. It's like, okay, I don't know if y'all seen the picture.
Yeah, the underdog, the middle class, the rich, the wealthy, however you want to put it. But it does not. Money should not constitute self-respect, dignity, pride, and just downright the right way.
But it does, though.
And that's why everybody's not on the same page.
Exactly.
So until we get past the point that material things will not carry us as far as our dignity and self-respect will, then we won't get any further. In my opinion. That's just my opinion.
I agree with you. I agree. Because I'm not calling us lower class. That's not what I'm saying. But
I don't have
us regular folk,
we regular folk,
different than a black person that got like $1 million or whatever. They don't understand what we're going through right here. Because they sitting over here. High and mighty, looking above where we have to struggle.
I can't say that for all because there's some that never forget where they come from.
Nothing is everybody. You know what I'm saying? Nothing is not everybody.
You gotta clarify that sometimes.
But
folks can be sensitive.
Just because we all the same color don't mean we go through the same struggle.
What's that saying? All skin folk ain't your kin folk?
Yeah. And my thing too is
I said that the other day and then people didn't understand what I was saying.
Yeah. And at the same time too, that's why I say you can't expect that from just all black folks. You know what I'm saying? Right. But I'm glad you said that because that leads me to the next question. Do you believe that once a white person or white people support a black movement, it becomes legitimate?
No.
Okay.
And my reason for saying no is everybody has their reasons for their movement. But as long as it matters to who it pertains to, which is us, we are about the movement. The movement is about us. If we take it serious and if we are in full cooperation with it, then really, to be honest, if nobody else ever joins it, now there is a good thing to have allies in other races because that's where networking, that is where the voice, that is where all of that plays a big part in how many people the movement can reach. It's a good thing, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a validation for it.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
I agree.
I
with
think
that.
too that
because let me say something real fast before I forget. Because I agree exactly what she's saying. Because like you got some people like if we doing the movement, black people doing something, protesting, whatever. Then you got somebody that's white. They be like, I I'm with y'all. Power to you. I'm with you. I don't give a fuck about that shit.
Yeah.
Cause like you said, we need to be doing this. Now I respect it though. I respect your respect. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like what she said.
Yeah, I think if it's genuine, then it works.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also a lot of people hop in stuff for, okay, how will this benefit me in the long run?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So that's when things get misconstrued and tied up and stuff like that, or they're joining for the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Even people that's married to a black person, white man with a black woman, black
vice
man
versa.
or the white wife. Yeah, I understand you're supporting whatever it is, but you don't really understand what we're talking about
I think
because you haven't lived that life.
yeah, I think that's
I don't think no
a
white
little
person.
different.
Yeah.
I don't think. I don't. Well,
Because I mean, look,
See,
I have
all white
had.
people are not rich too, but
No.
I think that situation
oh no, I won't
when
say
you do
that.
interracials is a little different because you may not actually go through the actual thing yourself, but it's just like if you're married to someone who's sickly or they can't do for themselves, you may not be feeling that pain, but you're walking with them through that struggle to help them. You know what I'm saying? And so you do kind of carry that burden a little bit also because, like I said, you don't feel that pain, but their pain, you have to be there for them. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Like,
a
hear
little
me out.
different,
No,
bro.
no, no,
That's a
no,
little
it's
different.
not because
Sickness
you're there.
and-
Listen to what I'm saying. Don't get caught on the actual thing. But what I'm saying is, when you're walking with somebody through that, you may not see that, but you see how it affects them. So now that affects you.
Mm-hmm.
You may not have been sick when Big Mama was sick, but watching her in pain hurts you, and you can't do nothing.
But
just like when your child hurt themselves, you can't fix that, but their pain hurts you. So you're still going through that with them, even though you're not actually going through it yourself.
And that word is called empathy. That is what you call empathy. But just take for a moment. Think back to your childhood. Think about some of the people that we went to school with. I know myself growing up, and where I grew up at was a predominantly black neighborhood, but I had an Asian family out there. We had a interracial family out there. We had a white family out there. And I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like it is not us. I feel like it is the system who sets the bar for where we go in life. I feel like everybody lives basically the same. Because in that neighborhood, those childhood friends, when I would go to their houses and play, we all lived exactly the same. We all had same traditional things that we did as a family. Asian families, it's cultural for you to not wear shoes in the house. You don't walk on the carpet because it's just traditional for them. But we had a interracial family out there. They lived exactly the same way we lived. I honestly feel like it's the system that separates us and categorizes us. And then you have what we call white privilege and all of those things. But a lot of people don't acknowledge it because they don't want to acknowledge racism. But then you have some white or Caucasian people out there who know exactly what we speak of when we say privilege.
And it's not money.
And it's not money. It's a state of mind. It has more to do with the people who sit in high places and how the system is designed to look at you differently. There have been plenty of people, white and black, go to court, same crimes, same judicial system, two totally different outcomes.
Exactly.
It is the system that separates us. So I just feel like that just sets the bar sometimes for where we are as a people. If we can get the system remotely to individualize us and not group us in color categories, then we will be a lot further. But that's just my take on it. I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion.
I got a question. So with this new voting, I mean not new voting, but people say vote, 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 vote. Will voting actually bring us together? Like, does it matter who your president is to bring the people together?
I'm gonna be honest. I think that people put more put more state and more
Emphasis.
on the presidential election more so because they're looking at the wrong part when it comes to that. They're looking at the whole. You know what I'm saying? What happens as a whole. But when it really comes to what happens in your community, it's them local votes that really make the difference. You know what I'm saying? Because okay, yeah, you may be the president of the US. You may make, you and the government may control whatever y'all feel, is for the whole of the nation. But at the same time, when it comes to each state, each city, it's different when you go there.
No, what I'm saying is, cause a lot of I've listened to a lot of black people say vote for Biden, now Trump, because Trump is a racist. He's just for white folk. Biden, he's more towards the black community, which is kind of stupid because not really. But what I'm saying is, does it matter who's the president to bring our races together?
Yes, I do agree that it does.
Think so?
In my opinion, just take a look back over the past 4 years.
It was fucked up.
There have been a lot of people who have been very comfortable showing their racism in the past 4 years.
Yeah,
some people that we never expected, because these last 4 years, I don't know about y'all, but for me, I've really had to take in consideration of some people that I had to rethink about my relationship and how we stand when it came to that and certain topics related to it, because I feel like the president that we have now, because we're getting ready to move into a new presidency, but our current president made it comfortable, made it easy with his rhetoric and how he chose to deal with racism and racial diversity. It made them more comfortable about being more open.
True. That is true.
So those people that we felt like had, and please excuse me, but I'm going to say this, these white sheets across their head. We didn't know that some of them were actually our doctors. We didn't know that some of them were our school teachers. We didn't know that these people who normally would have kept these comments to themselves felt the need to express themselves because they felt they would be able to get it out without having to be faced with any ridicule or penalty for it.
Yeah.
So I do believe that who we have as a president determines the nature or the climate of this country.
Makes sense.
Okay. I can do that. Like I agree with that, and you know what I'm saying. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, you just look
it
at
was
the
just a question.
circumstances.
It made sense.
See,
though,
I'm looking at it.
I'm
I'm looking at the presidential thing different as far as like how policies and stuff get dictated. You know what I'm saying? Because when I look at that, I look at it as a whole. Like, okay, you live in a housing community, right? All right, let's say you got the HOA. They say, hey, you can't do this on the outside of the house. Okay, I look at them like the president of the United States, right? Just analogy. And then you may have, okay, so let's say within that housing community, you have different sections, right? Those could be considered different states. So this section may do something different from this section. But then within them communities, you have houses. Those are cities. They do something a little different. You know what I'm saying? Because when you go in someone's house, you know what I mean? They may say, okay, the neighborhood, but hey, if I'm the parent and I run this house, guess what? I'm the president. I run this. You know what I mean? So I don't care what they say out there. What I say in here is what makes the difference.
Okay, sidebar. Do y'all think with Biden coming in, it's going to be anything less different than Trump? Because, like, hold on. I'm like what she just said. Good ass point. You feel me? The racist people already showing their colors. They already out. So even with Biden coming in and with the lady, whatever her name is,
Kamala Harris.
do you think the racist people gonna start
Kamala.
going back
Kamala
up?
Harris, I'm sorry.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So
No.
So
what
I'm
was
saying
there a time that they ever have though?
that's my point.
You know what I'm saying?
That was my
Because
question.
once you see, it takes 21 days to form a habit. So once you get stuck in your ways, you're not going to just be like, oh, okay, well, shoot, they don't put a new street sign up. Let me actually start stopping. You know what I'm saying?
You're gonna
It's
have
gonna
to be
take-
held accountable
yeah.
for not stopping at that stop
Yeah.
sign.
It's gonna
first.
take that first ticket for you to be like, oh, damn, okay, maybe I should start
Right.
stopping. So it's
Y'all
not
think
a
about it gonna
instant
change
thing.
things?
See,
I think the change has already started.
Oh, word?
In my opinion, I think.
Because it still got to go through Congress.
Well, see, that's the thing, and I believe you have a question more related to that. I feel like if we were knowledgeable about how the system works and how voting works, a lot of things that we expect from the president, it doesn't come from the president. It comes from your local legislator. It comes from your community leaders. And you all, as well as some people I know in my family, have to get it out of your mind that voting every 4 years makes a difference. There are other elections outside of those presidential elections, and that is where sometimes we miss the bar. And I want to say that because it bothers me when I hear, especially our kind, saying that Obama didn't do anything for us. And it wasn't because he didn't want to. He couldn't. Because where you all crowded the voter registration offices and you all crowded that vote that day at those 2 terms and went out there and voted for him, you did not go back out and vote for anything else that would solidify him in his presidency to make things move, shake, and change.
I did my part.
Hey.
The House was
what?
never
I did my
represented
part.
for us. You
Hey.
all allowed Republicans to take over and block him at every angle possible. But we have to consider, if you're not knowledgeable about these things, then you will miss the mark. So getting knowledgeable about that will help us all.
That's her own video right there. Her look. For real.
I mean, I'm just
Because
saying.
she just made, just put that little clip, boom.
Like
just
right now,
boom.
they got 2 seats, I think 2 for Georgia. They are running, and I believe coming up in a couple more months, and Republicans have already started trying to rally up Republican voters to get back out there and keep those seats. Why? So that Biden cannot change anything. Because if they say no, we can't go any further with it. Unless he's just gonna break the law and mandate things and not do it, legally. But you have to have, the ability to make things change. But without those seats and those delegates, everybody, it just doesn't work. And that was what Obama's problem was. And he just released a book. So he talks about that in the book. So, for all of you saying that, he didn't do anything for us, think about for a moment, did you go back out and vote again?
And I think also
Stop chasing that stimulus check too.
I think I'm gonna get to that in a minute.
Get
But
to
I
work.
think also
Go to work.
One of
Shit.
the problems that we have too is that we expect everything to happen instantly. Like, people feel like, okay, you in the office, it's your first day. Hey, look, and I think the changes people expect to make to it are mostly just monetary changes. All right, well, you in there now. Hey, look, I need to be a millionaire by the end of the year, bro. That ain't how it works.
That's how they looked at Obama when Obama.
You know what I'm saying?
Black
Yeah,
people,
that's
I ain't gonna say all, but black people, we got a black president, so he about to make the black people come up.
But see, here's the problem with that.
But I
though.
mean, look how many of our brothers and sisters who've been released from prison.
That is true.
Yeah.
too.
Look how many of our brothers and sisters were able
But you
to
know
do
what?
great things in this election
glad-
because he restored their ability to be able to vote.
I'm glad you said that. It's so much. That's a good thing on that end. But then you got other stuff on this end. Like you said, not gonna happen overnight. It takes time. It ain't gonna just be like, oh, I'm gonna elect the president and fix all this shit. Homelessness. Well, actually, he did kind of fix that a little bit.
But here's the thing too, people
I'm
forget.
sorry, y'all.
Here's
I
the
about
thing
killed
too
myself cleaning the bathroom today.
that people forget. Yeah, you can change the president, but your mind state is still the same.
Right.
Your mind ain't changed. So it don't matter what president is in there. If you ain't trying to better yourself, you're not going to get anywhere. You think I care who's in the White House? I still got bills to be paid.
Right.
I need to make sure that my family can eat at the end of the
I'm
day.
still
Because life
going
for
to
me
work.
did not change drastically because we got voted.
Exactly.
We voted in a Republican president after Obama,
Yeah.
Donald Trump. My life did not end. I still had a family to care for.
Mm-hmm.
I still had a job that I had to perform. Certain things just didn't. It didn't even bother me to that point where I had to rethink living.
And we still paying taxes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
some things. I'm still a citizen. I'm still required to pay taxes, file them. You know, all of that stuff. So, I mean, it's your state of mind.
I wish I was on that Armageddon shuttle because they ain't got to pay taxes. I wish I was with them.
Yeah, but anyway, so.
No, for real,
But
they
no, I
ain't got to
want to
pay
talk
taxes
about.
no more.
I don't even know what the Armageddon show is.
The movie Armageddon, Bruce Willis. I know you know that movie.
I've seen it. It's been a long time, so I can't even tell you anything about it. But
Oh my God, you know what I'm saying?
how many of them actually made it back though? But anyway,
5 of them.
yeah, and they start off with like 12, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. All right, so
okay. Moving on.
I would definitely want to talk about this one. Should police be defunded?
No.
And I don't like the word defunded because it sends out the wrong impression when it's actually not defunding, is actually, I guess, reassessing, I would want to say.
I know what you're trying to ask, and I'm going to go ahead and jump into it about this police thing. The way police treat our kind with excessive force is we all feel a certain way about that, you know what I'm saying? But the police force as a unit can't be judged, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's them people, it's that person that did it, that character, or the ones that watch it and allowed it. But police force as a whole, you can't judge that. I'm gonna tell you why. And a lot of black people don't understand this shit too. Yeah, I said it. If your grandmama's house was getting broke into, would you not want somebody watching or a neighbor call the cops real quick? Or you gonna be like, man, fuck the police, man, cause they just treat us wrong. It doesn't make sense.
See, here's
Far as the man.
look, get out.
The defunding. Well, I know what you're talking about. Nah, it just what needs to happen is the departments, the police departments needs to retrain their people on what is compliant with force and what's not. But at the same time, guess what? That still might not work because if it's in that person's head that he want to just throw somebody to the ground, he's just going to do that shit. It ain't got nothing to do with training or money or nothing. It's that person's mentality.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
I think it's a double-edged sword.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because on one end, you're saying, we say, okay, we can't judge the whole police force by what one officer did, or 2 or 3, however many. But at the same time, they judge us that same way.
But we can't look at it like that, though.
Now, hear what I'm saying? They judge us that same way.
That is true.
So you could live in a neighborhood where somebody may be selling drugs or got a high crime rate. That doesn't make you a criminal.
Right.
But if they had to come see you, they're going to treat you as such.
That is true.
Even if you don't carry yourself that way. So it's hard to say, okay, if the neighborhood I live in due to circumstance is this way, but I'm not that way, but you come in here and treat me that way, so why would you expect me not to look at all y'all in the same light?
No, you're right.
It's hard not to. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm gonna say, then this is just my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like the police department needs to be defunded, and I don't feel like it's a double-headed sword. Mm-hmm. What I do feel is that everybody should take the opportunity to look in your city and see what the paying rate for your city, surrounding cities, or even your entire state, and see what the starting pay is for a police officer. Am I an advocate for police officers? No, I'm not. Because I've seen too many inconsistencies to my people and people who don't look like me. We have endured the bulk of it, but there are other races out there who have lost loved ones to police brutality as well, and we're not going to overlook that. I'm not going to overlook that. What I do think is that just like any other job, the stress of not being able to financially secure your family off of what you bring home, I feel like they should reevaluate, like he said, they should reevaluate the funding as a whole. I feel like there should be certain requirements. I know personally a few officers when I was growing up that said that they there were scenes that they had to come to that just changed their lives. A lot of people don't shake that. You know, seeing people dismembered, those things play with your mind. In addition to how you were raised, how you view people, I feel like there should be a mandatory mental evaluation in the beginning. I feel like that should come every year. I feel like there should be routine trainings, and one of those things is problem solving with how to de-escalate situations instead of antagonize the situation. I feel like all of those things play a big part into being a great officer. And I feel like if they had more funding for that, which is something that's going to come from higher, because if you're looking at the starting rate, I believe here where we are right now in the city of Suffolk, the starting pay rate for a police officer is like 26,000, 27,000. That's not a lot.
No, it's not.
That's not a lot for you to be out here
risking
your life.
Yeah.
It's not a lot.
Too.
You know, and then those extra stresses on the job. And like I said, we don't know, because there have been police officers that have moved from other states because of just bad policing, and they can't be police officers there anymore, but they're in the field, and so they just move somewhere else, and nobody takes the time to evaluate the history or the psychological mindset of that person, and they bring that issue from another state here. So I feel like it's just, as a whole, it just needs to be evaluated, and the funding needs to be put more into the mental state of mind of a police officer. I know I worked on jobs where we had monthly trainings and we had yearly trainings, and if we did not do those trainings, we could not perform our job duties. And I feel like that needs to be something that is considered for any first responder or medical personnel, because the same people that patch us up, we don't know how they feel about us while we laying on that table.
Right.
You
That's
know, so
scary.
and that's very scary to know that your life
scary
is in the hands of a surgeon who may
be going through a divorce at the
right,
moment,
and just mentally,
is just everywhere.
there are a lot of
you know what,
components
fuck
to
this
life.
bitch.
And I think all of that should be considered. But do I think the police should be defunded? Absolutely
So
not.
do you think
I'm gonna ask some.
with one way, like I can't remember where I seen it at, but they said one way you can, what may help with some of the stresses is every couple years just take them off the beat. You know what I'm saying? So let's say if you're an officer and you've been working a strip for 2 years, okay, now these next 2 years you're gonna be at a desk. You know what I'm saying? I know they'll probably hate it, but
It
it's
should
like
be more than 2 years though.
But no, what I'm saying, I'm saying
less.
just switching it up.
Less. But I'm saying it should be less than that.
But see,
like,
you may not have the personnel to switch out that often, but you want to give it some time to say, okay, well, look, these next 2 years you may hate it, but you're gonna be on the desk job because you need to get your mind, refocus your mind, reset your mind. You know what I'm saying?
but before I lose this thought, which she was talking about, you were talking about the defunded part. Another thing that needs to happen with these police officers is accountability too, though.
True.
Because y'all know it was like a stream of just the officer over here slammed this dude, killed this dude next. I mean, it was just a stream of shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But nobody was being held accountable. Yeah, you get here, they might get a case, they might this and that. their supervisors thinking about what's going to happen? No. Police officers need to be held accountable. So, and make an example. You know what I'm saying? If this police officer fucked up with excessive, with excessive force and shit, hold him accountable. That way, this nigga think like, I shouldn't do this.
Someone said
You know what
instead of the state paying for it, that they should sacrifice their pensions.
That's true too.
You know, I honestly feel like sometimes if nothing else makes us stop and evaluate life, our pockets do.
Yes, ma'am.
Or-
Hell yeah.
Check this out.
Put him in jail.
Certain jobs, when the employee mess up, the supervisors get held responsible for
Right.
it. You know what I'm saying?
True
So
shit.
it's like, okay, well, I tell you what. If you have an officer or somebody who has a certain amount of complaints within a few years, why are they still in these streets? Okay, well, since the police chief don't want to get in there, Mr. Mayor. You know what I'm saying? That's when the governor, you come down, Mr. Mayor. I tell you what, you got about 6 months to clean house and get stuff right, or you're going to be held accountable for this.
But I'm gonna switch y'all up for a minute and take that back to going out and voting in your communities. Because I don't know if you're realizing it, but there are certain states that police officers cannot be held responsible legally.
I'm just listening.
They
trying to see where
cannot
this is
be
going.
held responsible legally
For what?
for things like what we seen, like George Floyd. There are laws that prevent them from being sued personally.
Fuck them states.
Exactly. But if you get out there and you vote and you make your voices heard, we can change a lot of those laws. And that's where the accountability starts.
Place, yeah.
We put the right people in the right places to say, no, I don't think that's fair.
Makes sense, man. You know what I'm saying? But it's, you know, to me, it all goes back to mentality. You got to get people mind.
But people have to believe it's worth it.
Yeah, and you know what? I want to say that too. Do you think the lack of, let's go back to us for a minute. Do you think the lack of hope is what destroys a lot of us as black people? Because we don't see a future for us. Like, we're told at a young age. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure we've all heard this. Oh, well, you know, you be lucky if you make it past 18.
Hey,
You be
bro,
lucky if you make it to 21.
I got it easier than
But
that.
see, here's the thing. When you look at that, they teach us live for the day because tomorrow ain't promised. You know what they teach other cultures? Plan for your next 20 years. Plan for your next 40 years. That's why so many of us, especially our elders, they're 65, they past retirement age, still working because they didn't know, okay, look, if I invest this money now at 20, by the time I'm 40, hey, I'll have this. If I invest this for my kids at the age of 10, by the time they're 30, they'll have this. Because we're always taught, hey, YOLO.
So I feel like if in that sense, accountability and confidence starts within the home. It's the parents' job to build that in their children so that they can go out there and perform it. If you're not teaching your kids to be confident, if you're not telling your kids every day, you are great, you can do this, you will become something, then guess what? They'll go out here in this world and not think they're capable of doing it.
Hey, let me tell you something. What she just said, you have to do that. I tell my son that every day. That boy gets on my nerves playing that goddamn Fortnite, Minecraft, whatever. But that boy is a gamer. You know what I'm saying? And he be coming up with ideas and talking to me. You know what? I listen. I'm like, you know what? Yeah. I'm going to send you to school to do what you like. You're going to be somebody. You're going to be great at playing this game. But for right now, get out my face.
But you know what? The funny thing about that is, my husband and I sat back and watched a special. 6 kids turned into millionaires before they were even 13 years old playing Fortnite.
My son just told me
Gaming.
He
I
just
mean, they have made more money winning one gaming contest, than their parents both combined working for the past 20 years.
And see the thing too.
So it's all in what you teach your children to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you tell your son, hey, you know what, you can make some good money off of this if you get good with this, and then instead of just allowing him to do it freely.
Yeah, and
build your kids' confidence up too.
Yeah.
Build your kids' confidence
up. Get your kids to that point, at least look up something and try to help. You know what I'm saying? Because that makes a difference. Like, out the window are the days of, okay, yo, you got to work a 9 to 5 in order to get this. Man, there's so many ways to do things now. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And I think that once we get past that and more people start doing that also, then you'll start getting past the post-traumatic slave syndrome. Because now everybody's seeing differently. You know what I'm saying? But like you said, it takes a community to make that happen. For parents out there who say it can't happen, the same way you can get online and look up who in the next versus battle is the same way you can get on Google and look up some stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that is true.
Yeah, because I tell my kids all the time, you do what you want to do. People put time and energy into things that they think is important. Not what's really gonna be beneficial, but just what they have the mindset to be involved in. You know, but the same energy you put into, like what would your parents used to tell you back in the day? I hope you know that school where, like, you know them songs on the radio. It's the same thing. It is the same thing. And you have to take that mentality and put it towards business. The same amount of time you spend bull jiving is the same amount of time you're going to have to put into being about your money.
Definitely. I fully agree with that, man. And on that note, before we get out of here, last thing I want to say, man, to anybody is be the difference. Don't wait. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hear so many people, who will be the next Martin Luther King? Who will be the next Malcolm? You be them. Don't wait for nobody else to do it. You be them.
I got one better than that.
Blind lead the blind.
Instead of being the next Malcolm or Martin,
be yourself.
Why don't you be the next individual under your own name and set the bar for yourself? Because Malcolm and Martin have already put their names down in the books.
Solidified.
They have already solidified their spaces in history. Why don't you be the next Michael or
T.O.
Karen or
T.O.
T.O.
Okay.
You know, because I mean, everything, you know, when it comes to Karen, it ain't always what we see on social media about these raging bull, coffee drinking women.
We know what Karen is.
But, you know, it's a lot of black women out there named Karen. You know, Kamala's,
Karen.
You know, my children, Sheree's, Ayana's. I mean, it's so much more to it. So why don't you be the difference?
And link up, and too, also, man, link up with some of the people in your area that's doing positive stuff.
Absolutely.
Man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's as much of the negativity you see as just as much positivity, if not more. But we just don't focus on that because we all know negativity is what drives us. You know what I'm saying? That's what gets the attention.
Be the next you.
Yep. But on that note, we are out.
757, we love you, baby. Mr. Sturdy Pot.
Girl,
Favorite
Pixie.
cousin. Peace.